Welcome everyone from the Behavioral Alliance of South Carolina. We're here with BASC'ing in the Spotlight because we are BASC, Behavioral Alliance of South Carolina, and we wanted to highlight some of our wonderful educators and people within the state that are doing amazing work with our students, families, and communities. Today we have Ms. Fehlig here to share why she is so great. And I just want to introduce her quickly. Ms. Fehlig is a sixth grade science teacher at E.L. Wright Middle School in Columbia. Emily graduated from the University of South Carolina in 2018 as a South Carolina Teaching Fellow with a bachelor's in middle level education. Growing up in Conway, South Carolina, near the beach, woohoo! Ms. Fehlig has a passion for life science and the outdoors that she loves sharing with her students. Along with her work in the classroom, Ms. Fehlig also served as a student council sponsor and cheerleading coach. Ms. Fehlig is currently pursuing her master's in education in teaching and learning with a literacy focus from the University of South Carolina. She was nominated today by Samantha Martinez, a close friend of hers, but also someone who knows how great her work is. So I'm going to give Samantha just a second to share why she nominated her.
I cannot wait to talk about all the great things that Emily does, but not only knowing her personally, but I get to hear about the work that she does in her classroom and how passionate she is about her kiddos and the work that they're doing. And I love hearing about the different experiments that she puts together, and she's constantly communicating with parents, letting them know what's going on in the classroom, taking pictures, and really just making the learning environment really fun. And I think that's what's really great about Emily's teaching style is that she wants kids to enjoy the learning process. And I think that's what our classrooms need, right? Are like these passionate teachers who want their kids to love learning and want them to enjoy, and especially with science, and enjoy science and what they're getting from it. And I think that's what's so special about her. And it shines through the work that she does. I think even more specifically over COVID, so many teachers face difficulties with how to make the classroom fun. And Emily did such an amazing job of like getting out of the classroom and using her environment to get her kids still excited about the classroom. So when we talk about BASC'ing in the Spotlight, Emily was one of the first people that came to my mind because I'm like, she is making a difference in our community and in our classrooms, and any student that gets to sit in her classroom is super lucky. So I'm so glad that we get to highlight her today and people get to hear more about how wonderful she is.
Wonderful. So Ms. Fehlig, would you like to share just a little bit about who you are, where you teach, and then we'll get into highlighting you. And Samantha, while we're doing that, would you bring up the picture of her so we can all see her beautiful face?
I would love to.
Hi, everyone. I'm Emily Fehlig, and I just completed my second year teaching at E.L. Wright Middle School in Columbia. So I teach sixth grade science, and I love it. Like Samantha said, thank you so much, Samantha, for nominating me. Like you mentioned, I did enjoy or try to make the best of teaching virtually. I have a great community in my classroom, and I love to build relationships with my students. So I was obviously devastated when we had to go to completely virtual learning, but my goal during e-learning was to keep that community and give my kids the most normal classroom environment or learning experience that I possibly could.
And I know you did, because I've seen some of the pictures and videos that you had to offer. Do you mind to share a little bit about some of the great things that you did within your classroom before switching virtually? We have some pictures here, the live and in-person version of Ms. Fehlig.
I teach science, and the reason that I love science is because it's so applicable and it's so interactive for students. So I worked really hard to teach, provide hands-on opportunities for the classroom, and just allow students to be creative and just make real-life connections. So in these pictures, these are all during our Living Things unit prior to leaving for coronavirus. So this picture is an experiment where on the left, students got to test stimulus with live worms. So just remembering, I think in middle school, so often kids think they're grown up or teachers think the kids are really grown up, but I teach 6th grade and they're 11-year-olds. So it's so funny how they want to act like they're so old and grown up, but when you give them a worm, they act like kindergarteners. So it's just nice to see that excitement and learning. So that was them designing their own experiments and testing how worms respond to water. And then in the middle there, we did a oyster dissection when we learned about mollusks. So again, providing those hands-on opportunities, allowing students to touch things and explore and feel like scientists and understand what scientists do. And then the picture on the right is my favorite day of the whole school year. And it actually happened to be the day before school closed for coronavirus, which is crazy that I had chosen that day. But that is just like an adaptation day. So we learn about animal adaptations, and students have the opportunity to create a costume or in some way dress up like an animal adaptation and present to their classmates.
I don't know about you, Erin, but this makes me want to go back to 6th grade science.
Yes, I would love that. The dissecting an oyster sounds a lot more fun than the worm. I think I might be a kindergartner too when that happens.
Oysters are good because they're, not as gross as a live. They are a live animal and a real animal, but they're not as intimidating to someone who's never dissected anything.
Exactly. Thank you for sharing. And then right here, do you mind to just share a little bit about this as well?
This was an activity that I actually did during e-learning, and it was where would we be without pollinators? So during our plant unit, we learned about pollination, and there was a contest done by the state of South Carolina and the Conservation Agency. So I tried to provide opportunities for students. I really love to give students choice because, for example, I hate to draw, but some of my students are wonderful artists. So I never want to make students only have the opportunity to draw or only have to present in front of the class, because that can really limit some students who may struggle in certain areas or just not enjoy that. So this is an example of a project that I provided choice for students, and then I gave them the opportunity to submit their work for the competition. And I had more than 35 students submit work. They were very excited about it. And they could do anything from create a pollinator garden to design a video to create a poster online or draw handmade. And I actually had a student place second in the state. So really, she won some gift cards and different things. So it's just a really awesome experience, I think, to understand. This is an example of taking what we're learning about pollinators and understanding how pollinators impact your personal community, and then asking students to learn how to make the community aware about something that we're learning in science.
That's amazing.
And I love how fun even the Word document is. I think like sometimes even just the little touches that teachers put on the work that they do can really impact students. And I just think like the colors and your little Bitmoji on the bee. I mean, I know that probably took seconds to put on, but I think it makes a difference in engaging students in the classroom. So I thought that was really cool.
And I just thought it was cool, especially during e-learning and virtual learning, to do something like this where ideally students would work with their parents or with their siblings, or it would be something fun and it wouldn't just necessarily have to be something sitting in front of a computer.
Yeah, totally.
I love it. And you gave them voice and choice. That's the most important thing. It makes it, that's why you got 35 responses to it, right? You gave them choice and they were able to pick. Amazing. Thank you for sharing. And then awesome. Coming up next.
Are we headed to the next one?
Yes, please. We've got a wonderful video that we're going to play. If you don't mind, we'll all watch it together, and then we can, if you don't mind, to share a little bit more about you and your dad on the lake.
Okay.
Here goes. Reporting live.
Hey, y'all. This is Miss Fehlig here. We're reporting live. I'm with my dad. We'll call him Captain Jerry.
Hey, y'all.
And we're on Lake Marion out here. We are enjoying nature and seeing some animals, and we're going to tell you some new information and remind you a little bit about what we learned in class. So here y'all can see the lake. You can see some cypress trees out here. Tell them about those, Dad.
See all the cypress trees out there? They all grow in the water, and the water never comes off of them. They're trees that grow out there all the time. And the ospreys like to nest in them. So what we'll do now is we'll go find an osprey nest and show you an osprey nest up in the cypress tree.
All right, stay tuned.
Amazing. I love
it.
great. Do you mind to just reflect on it a little bit, how much fun it was creating that video with your dad for your kids?
Sure. So I worked, again, when I found out that we were not going to be back at school, I just really wanted to keep my students' learning experience as normal as possible for them. And I'm very open with my students. I like to share things. I FaceTime people in that I have as friends or family members that I know work and do work that relates to what we're learning about. And so this is pretty normal for my students, and I wanted them to see my face and hear my voice. And this was really at the beginning of e-learning. I started this before, we really started with everyone doing Zoom meetings and Google Meets weekly and things like that. And I spent my time originally during quarantine and e-learning at my family's lake house, and there's just so much life there that relates to what we're learning about. So this was during our plants and animals and living things unit. So I did this. This was actually the first video I made, and it was kind of funny, but the students have a sense of humor and they think it's hilarious, but we were able to use what we were seeing on the lake, and then I was able to have students reflect about how this relates, or what did they notice that we had learned about, or ask them a question so that they could do that. And I probably did these for a week every day. And then when I didn't do them, one day I had students commenting, where is the lesson from the lake today? So it just became something that eventually I had to kind of, really, really work hard to find something to do, but it meant a lot to them. And it just, like I said, it was something fun and normal to them.
Absolutely. And I feel like students like to see where their teachers are and what they're doing. And especially in middle school, they're so curious about the adults in their life that they don't know outside. And I think what's so cool about this is you didn't get to see them live and in person, but you're connecting with them and showing them your own environment. I mean, of course they wanted to tune in. They were like, where's Miss Fehlig? What is she doing? And I think so many teachers can kind of learn from this and pick up some tips and tricks of use your environment to connect with your students when you're using these virtual online learning, which can be difficult to connect with them. Clearly you connected, they were tuning in, they were engaged in the content. I just think this was so cool that you did this.
Yes, amazing. Thank you for sharing. Let's move on to the next one. I can't wait to see what's next.
Yes. What else did we find in the wild?
Woo-hoo.
All right, y'all. We have some alligators right here. One of them's moving. You can see him swim away. This one's real close. We're in the car, so we're safe. You can see how well he's camouflaged. He's out here trying to get some sun. We'll see if he does anything for a minute.
That's wonderful. So tell me a little bit about the alligator in reference to your own personal experience. How did the kids react to this? This is such a unique opportunity to use e-learning to share your environment. I love it.
So these are, of course, are only 2 of the videos that I used and I did a lot of them, but I do tell my students a lot about my life. And like I said in my bio, I love the life science, and I spend a lot of time outdoors, and my family members are fishermen and outdoorsmen, and these alligators are all over the reserve at the lake and things like that. So I tell my students about this and I show pictures. So I personally was excited to have the opportunity to video them and actually show them I'm not making this up. I didn't get this picture off Google. This is me with this alligator. But again, just being able to use this, and this is what Ms. Fehlig is doing right now, but then ask questions. So for example, we learn about endothermic and ectothermic animals, which are really just big 6th grade words for warm and cold-blooded animals. And when they, the times of year and different habits that they have. So I was able to show them all the alligators I saw. I want to say I saw 9 or 10 this day, and then ask them to make inferences about, what did you notice in the video? What's a vocabulary word or something that relates to what we learned in class before we left? And then can you make an inference about why there's so many alligators out during the month of March? What is different about their environment? What makes them bask in the sun this time of year? So just allowing them to see something real and then connect it to what we're learning in the classroom.
So much fun. And what did the kids do when they saw it? Were all the comments oh my gosh, what is that? That's an alligator.
Some of them get really excited. Some of them pretend they're not excited, but they definitely get excited to see those. And it's definitely more exciting than a PowerPoint or a virtual lesson done by someone who's not me or different things like that. So.
Yeah, and it provides them with like critical thinking, right? You were asking them to infer something. And I think we live in this world where they can Google whatever and they can get these answers, but you're asking them to critically think about this alligator that it just drove by. I mean, how cool. I just love that you're like out there and getting them to connect. So with learning.
It is. It's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I hope that any teachers watching this are able to get some tips and tricks. And then moving forward as we go back, as I keep saying, this new school year, I don't know what it's going to look like for sure, but moving forward with e-learning or in person, do you have any tips, tricks, or advice for teachers as we go back to this new school year?
I would just say this has obviously been difficult for teachers, but it's also been difficult for students. So whether we're virtual or we are in person, just really taking the time to check in with your students. One thing that I should have shared with Sam, I guess, is my weekly check-in that I did, and I had the students, I actually used this from another teacher that is in my school district, but she asked for their quarantine name. So how are you feeling? Plus what's the last thing you ate? And the kids just enjoyed, and some of them would say like bored, pancake, and some of them would really say something like frustrated or anxious, or they would use words like that. And then I would have them rate on a scale of 10, like how they're feeling and how they're enjoying e-learning. And for some students, they love e-learning. Like some students I think are going to use this and choose to continue with e-learning no matter what the school districts decide to do, but some students really, really struggled with it. And I just think that that is something that can be taken into e-learning or into the classroom as checking in with those students, and then taking the opportunity to send those students a private email like, hi Samantha, I saw that you said that you were feeling anxious. I just want to know that you to know that I feel anxious too, and this is crazy, and if you need to talk to anyone, like feel free to email me. Can I do anything to help you? And I just think that's really important all the time in the classroom, but especially if we continue e-learning, because some of these students are lonely and missing social interaction. And I mean, this is the first time ever that you hear the majority of students saying, I want to go to school. So it's a big deal.
Absolutely. Thank you for just reminding us that building relationships, however it can be done in person or online, is the most important. I love the weekly check-in idea, gathering in-person ideas from other teachers. We all do that, but I love that you just shared so many that hopefully a lot of teachers can take and go with and build whatever it would be next year for our kids so that they're able to be there and be with us and learning, because that's the most important thing. So Samantha, do you have anything else you'd like to share about wonderful Miss Emily Fehlig?
No, I think we were able to highlight it. I'm glad. And able to show kind of the work that she does in the classroom. Again, if I was a sixth grader and I was taking science, I'd want to be in Miss Fehlig's class. Like I was definitely a kiddo who moved around and was talking a lot, which doesn't shock a lot of people. And so I needed hands-on experience. I would have probably like squirmed a little bit about the worm, but loved that we were doing the worm, you know? So I think she connects with her students at whatever level they need, right? So she talks about like this idea of if they're feeling anxious, connecting with them too. So I just think really amazing. I hope that teachers hear how she's connected with other teachers and her students. And we continue to do that within our community here in South Carolina, because we don't know what's coming up for us as teachers and schools. And I think we can really learn from each other and help our kiddos have the best experiences possible in the classroom, even with the unknowns. So thanks so much, Emily, for doing this.
You're so welcome. Thank you for nominating me.
Of course.
Thank you, Emily. So this was the Behavioral Alliance of South Carolina, BASC, and we are basking Miss Emily Fehlig in the spotlight because she is amazing. Thank you for sharing. And we'll see you next week on Basking in the Spotlight. Congratulations, Miss Fehlig. Thank you again, and have a wonderful rest of your day.